I'm getting thumbs up. Hey, look, it works. Sorry about that, everyone, for the quick delay. We had it's one of those things, whenever you do this the first time, we actually turned everything on. We had everything preset. We've been here for a couple hours getting ready, and we had done some test streaming. And then when we go hit the live button for the sixth time of tests, everything crashes and explodes. And it's like, oh my goodness, why is it right when you try to do it for real? It actually doesn't work. But hey, we're back up and running. You know how they always say in IT world, just turn it off and turn it back on again? That's exactly what we did, and it's working just fine. It's kind of funny, actually, while we were trying to do that, someone was actually dragging another computer out just in case this one all of a sudden was having an issue. We need to swap computers. So hooray, it's working just good. Everyone, is the sound levels okay? You guys can all hear me all right? Hopefully it's coming through nice and clear. And I'm waiting for my audio in my ear to tell me that we're okay with our guests. So welcome to our very first dev stream. We're really excited to be able to talk with you guys. This is going to be the first of quite a few. We're going to be doing this regularly from here on out. So you're going to be seeing both my face and some of the other faces that you're going to see today for a lot of these dev streams moving forward. Every 2 or 3 weeks or so, we're going to do a dev diary and a dev stream. We're going to be talking about different features of the game. We're going to be going through things, asking your questions, and hopefully just getting to know each other a little bit. So really excited to be enjoying this stuff with you. I'm hearing that we have a little bit of an echo. Is that okay, or is it just a little bit? Okay. We are working and tweaking on that. Bear with us. This is our very first dev stream with this setup, so there could be a little bit of snags we go through. So we're going to go ahead and get started right away. We have a couple people from the development team that are going to be joining us here, and we're going to be chatting with them. We have Veso, who is the game director, and Alex, who's one of the senior designers. Both are going to be guests on the show today. We're going to do a segment where we're going to get to know them a little bit. We're going to ask them a little about themselves, their history, talk about the game some, talk about the dev diary. We're going to go through some of your questions, both on the forums as well as here live in chat. And yeah, it's going to be a fun show. This show is really more about kind of getting to know each other and talking a little bit about the high level of the game. And then in subsequent streams, I promise you we're going to have unbelievable numbers of exclusives. We're going to be showing gameplay footage really for the first time here on these streams. Not anything really gameplay-wise on this one, but on the future ones, you're going to have gameplay footage. We'll actually play some games with you live. We're going to do a lot of cool stuff. We may have some artists actually drawing stuff on the stream and actually showing you some cool stuff there. We're going to do deep dives on all the different feature sets and everything. We're going to have a lot of cool content we'll be sharing over the next number of months and even longer than that as we go. So really excited to bring this to you. So first off, let's go ahead and bring our first guest on. Let me see if we can get Veso on here. Veso, can you hear me okay? Veso, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, there we go.
Perfectly.
Perfect.
Oh, oops.
And now you're on stream. No, it's fine. Hey, I have my coffee too.
I can hear you. There is a little delay.
Yeah, a little bit it seems.
Echo, actually.
Yeah, you're getting a little bit of an echo? See, this is what happens when we have to reboot the computer right before we start, so.
Brad, can you keep talking for 1 more minute, please?
Yeah. Actually, I think, Alex, we're getting a little bit of a delay. Am I going through the...
No, you're going through the regular.
Okay.
You're good.
So, Veso, can you hear me all right?
Yes, but I hear my voice like 5 seconds after I say something, and it's really confusing me.
Do you have the Twitch stream open?
Oh, yeah. If you have the stream open, Veso, you should close it. That's probably what you're hearing.
You have something open where you're watching us again?
Yes.
Yeah, so just mute that. That's probably what you're hearing.
Hold on.
Hey, you know, we got to work out the technical details one way or the other, so no worries.
Sorry, that's...
I think we're good. And now he's speaking Bulgarian. Awesome. All right, so as he's working through things, I'm waiting for Veso to say he's good to go. Second song and dance while we're waiting. So Veso is the the game director and the studio director and for Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign. He's been in the industry for quite a long time. So he was obviously the game director, and some of you guys know him from Knights of Honor 1. So there's some lineage there. But he's actually one of the very early founders of gaming in Bulgaria, one of the first studios. So, Vesa, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How long have you been in the games industry?
More than 20 years,
20
actually.
years, wow.
Yeah, it's a bit longer than I wish, but it's been fun so far. I
A
hope
bit
for
longer
20
than you
more.
wish. What do you mean?
It's well, it's a hard work.
Uh,
If you're a very young kid, you know how it is. It feels like a super easy thing, but actually making big games is not so trivial.
yeah,
But it's
yeah.
fun. It's big fun. I'm
Well,
happy.
what was the very first game you worked on back 20 years ago when you first started?
It was called Tsar, the Burden of the Crown. Super
Ah,
long and epic name, yeah. It was a real-time strategy. Obviously, I've been a strategy guy for quite a long time, and yeah, it worked quite fine. Was really the first game done in Bulgaria commercially, so we had some kind of unique challenges making this. Gathering people, discovering simple things ourselves. There was not much internet, or there was no Wikipedia back then. So you
no
can imagine.
Wikipedia. You know, it's so weird to even think of a world without Wikipedia. We become so dependent on just having this knowledge just at our fingertips. So I
Yeah.
I remember actually the old days of buying encyclopedias and actually having those rows of encyclopedias, and that's what you use to kind of learn things. Now you just go online and type a thing, and then you get all sorts of information. And then so Knights, Czar was a real time strategy game. So you've been a real time strategy fan, or even a strategy fan for forever. Has that always been kind of your favorite genre?
Strategy, yes, I would say one of most favorite genres. And to be very, very honest, in back in '90s, it seemed kind of a bit easier to make strategy games than
Mm,
a content-heavy like RPGs or that type of things.
yeah, yeah.
And 3D wasn't a big thing back then yet, so strategy was kind of obvious thingy to do.
So how did Knights of Honor come to be? I mean, that was obviously this is a game that came out a while ago that a lot of people that are on our stream right now are fans of. So I mean, how did that whole game come to start? Like, what was the genesis of this idea?
We wanted to make some grand strategy, real-time strategy,
Mm,
and for a while we envisioned that old Tsar game, which was played on a very small map. We started fantasizing about having this same thing but on a very huge map, and we started doing it that way. But it evolved during the development, which was quite long, about 3 years or something.
mm.
It evolved into a very casual historical simulation, and I think were the roots. And combined this with our love for history, uh, and yeah, it was very natural process for us actually.
Yeah, one of the questions that I've seen asked on the forums was what was everyone's favorite kingdom to play in the first Knights of Honor? Like, what did they? I know each kingdom had their own. Actually, it was even just not just a kingdom, which time frame you played in, but specifically which kingdom really changed kind of your approach to the game. Do you have like a favorite kingdom that you enjoyed playing when you were playing Knights of Honor 1?
It's very hard to pick one, but I can tell you something from the kitchen. Uh,
Okay.
we played Aragon. Uh, I hope I pronounced this correctly. For during the development, we had this particular kingdom. I don't know why we picked it or how it happened, but it
Okay.
ended up like us playing like 90% of the time the very same kingdom. I guess it was yeah, especially in the first two-thirds of the development,
Mm,
probably because there is this thing. If you make a change in a very complex game, if you stick to the same kingdom for a while, then you can feel the change much better.
right, right.
Because yeah, if you pick some very huge kingdom like I won't quote any, but then you don't know what you did actually after you change from very small to very big kingdom. So how you compare your experience after you did some, let's say, difficulty balance or something. So it was very beneficial to play the same kingdom, and it happens to be Aragon back then. Now, for more than a year, it happens to be Croatia,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
example.
yeah.
I hope we have some friends from Croatia here. I know that we have some really, really big fans in this part of the world. So, hi, if you're here, guys.
Actually,
And
that's been the I know for a while in the development build, like in pre-production production, wasn't Croatia the starting nation spot for Knights of Honor 2 for quite a while. I know we're moving it around now,
Yes,
but
yes,
ev-
yes.
ev-
For more than a year, we were starting in Zadar, and
yep.
yeah.
Yeah, every milestone build, every like developer build that I played, it was always starting in Croatia, and you got quite familiar with your neighbors in that part of the world when you played it over and over and over again. Someone in chat saying that Ulster, if I'm pronouncing that right, was one of the easiest starting points in Knights of Honor. Do you agree with that?
Uh, kind of.
Kind of.
It's one of my favorite actually, playing with Ulster and
Oh,
Scotland
really?
as well
Mm,
in the old game.
yeah.
It had this specific intrigue between the British Isles, like Irish earldoms and Scotland and England and Wales was kind of fun.
Oh, awesome.
It's interesting that you have to play quite a long time before you're actually able to get out of the Isles and start doing some nasty things around Europe.
Which is probably very similar to the truth, right? It took a little while for anyone to even start exploring while they're dealing with their neighbors in those small parts of the kind of constrained areas. We see people from chat that are actually from Croatia, so we do have some Croatian friends.
Oh,
So yeah, I played your nation quite frequently for the last year or so in the first year of development. So that's awesome. Great to see from fans from different places. Do you have any like I know again a lot of people on the channel are fans of the original game. We're going to get into some stuff on Knights of Honor here too in a second. But do you have any cool, like maybe memories or cool stories from either your time playing Knights of Honor 1 or the development back then that you think would be a fun story to share with the audience that are, obviously big fans of the franchise?
well, there's
Actually, there's
quite a
too
lot
many.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, too many. Uh, there was maybe the most grand story behind it, which might come as a surprise for many people, is we had something which we called exact match. The idea was that wherever you are at the world's campaign map, you could zoom in and you see the exact representation of this location,
Mm,
but from a battle view point of view. We kept this for more than a year,
okay.
and at some point we discovered some. Now this is a joke. We started discovering Newtonian physics and maybe some stuff like that, because we noticed that units which were moving, or troops that were moving naturally in some natural way on the campaign map, when you zoom in and you see them really just dashing across the map. And yeah, if you think about it, the campaign map is it's a map. It's some representation of the reality, but it's not the reality. And
Right,
if you
right.
try to push that thing and to turn it into a reality, you have to deal with speeds, relative speeds, and all that stuff. So we had to take a very tough decision and say, okay, we cut this.
Mm,
Instead of having this exact matching battle view maps with the world map, we would rather go for templates. And we actually had 57 maps in the old game for
57?
battles. 57, yeah.
Goodness gracious. That's a lot of maps.
As all the maps.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because it's something that I think, when you're in game development, it's something that you learn. But I think as players, sometimes it's not always easy to appreciate. You have this fantasy of what you want the game to look like or play like. But sometimes as developers, you start experimenting with some of those things. Even a lot of the requests that I see, and gamers mention in forums or in Discord or whatever when they're talking about, oh, I wish the game was like this, or I wish the game had this feature. We try a lot of that stuff in development. We mess with some of them, and some of them just
Yeah.
either don't work or they make the game worse. They actually don't make it better fun wise, or they distort the fantasy or the excitement of the game. And you sit there and you have to make that decision where it's like, yeah, I know in my mind's eye this sounds like such a great idea, and then we try it, and all of us are like, maybe we should stay away from that. So that's just part of the adventure of being a developer in this crazy industry,
Yeah.
right?
Right. And
I
these games are very heavy on systems wise.
Yeah,
A lot of
definitely.
the gameplay actually emerges from more complex systems, and the problem is that you cannot really taste the gaming kind of complete most of those systems and make them work together well.
Yeah.
So it's a ninja experience making grand strategies, basically.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I think you and I have had plenty of whiteboard conversations in the office where we've been sitting there and like trying to figure out, okay, well, here's the way this system goes, and you add one little bit and expands it by 10x complexity, and it's like, oh, we can't do that, we have to change it, and it's so easy to go down that that over complexity rabbit hole just with one simple change to a system. It just kind of like stacks and stacks, and you have to kind of go back on and rebalance all of it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And it, Brad.
Yeah, we've had plenty. Vesso and I have spent a lot of time together in the last couple of years, and a lot of whiteboard discussions. So it's a fun back and forth. I hear some comments here in the chat about the large countries were always the most difficult in Knights of Honor 1, at least. And it's funny because that's actually my personal experience. The first time I played Knights of Honor, I think I played Germany. And man, I got absolutely steamrolled in seconds. Like you have all this territory, people are declaring war on you right away, and I'm like, I don't even know how to how do I build armies? How do I? You don't even know what you're doing yet, and then all of a sudden you're dead. And then I picked like a 2-nation or a 2-province nation, and then I was able to kind of learn the game and figure it out. That's something we've talked about a lot in development, about how to help new players get a good first experience in the game when they first start playing, so they don't fall into that trap maybe of playing one of those really difficult nations. Maybe obviously you can play whatever you want if you really want to, but add a little bit of guiding rails so they know, oh hey, this is probably a good place to start when you're first playing. Oh, did we get I think we got a delay there all of a sudden. Can you hear me, Vesso?
Yes, we had some short interruption, I guess.
Okay, cool, but you can hear me again. Perfect.
Yes.
One last question before I move on to Knights of Honor 2, and obviously it's probably another one of those loaded questions. It's hard to answer, but someone was asking, what do we think one of the hardest countries was to play in the original game?
That's I see today, after 15 years, maybe is one of the problems we would like to address with Knights of Honor 2, because the bigger kingdoms back then, they were, some people say, more difficult, but the question is this because they were more boring, more tedious, like more laborious? You have to, so they should be, there are unique challenges of ruling a grand empire. It's always more difficult than ruling just a small village or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it shouldn't feel like a repetitive, laborious thingy. It should be more, it should come with its fun challenges,
sure,
so to say. And we with Knights of Honor 2, we are doing things to address this, maybe not today, but in the future Dev Diaries, we could share a bit more, Brad, about this,
Absolutely.
Think about it, yeah.
I like it, I like it.
Yeah.
One comment that someone made on the chat was about, asking us, please tell me that diplomacy will have more options. Diplomacy is actually very, very exciting in Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign. We are going to do Dev Diaries down the road on each of the major systems and features like diplomacy and religion and battles, all that kind of stuff. So expect that we're going to have a dev stream and a dev diary down the road where we talk about the diplomacy feature in detail. We're going to show you gameplay. We'll show all that kind of cool stuff. So if you're interested, you should subscribe to the channel. Get logged into the forums. It's community.knightsofhonor.com. Come join the community and become a part of those discussions. And you're going to be on the front lines when we first unveil the details of some of these features and start talking about them. Maybe Vesso or Alex will give us a little bit of a tease later on in this stream, but we have a lot to go through in this hour, so we want to make sure we keep the train moving. So let's go into a few. Before we bring Alex on, I'd like to get a few questions from you, because you've been here since the very beginning of this project. So my first question for you is, why make Knights of Honor 2? Like, why did you want to make the sequel to this game? I mean, Knights of Honor 1 was such a great game. People loved it and enjoyed it. What was the reason for wanting to revisit this franchise?
It's unfinished business. Take this in quotes, but no, it's a unique chance. We are actually very, very happy and thankful to THQ Nordic for being such a great partner and giving this unique chance to go back in time and do the same thing, but with today's mind. It's a cliche, but it's a very, very nice cliche. Like, who doesn't fantasize about, if I could go back in time like 15 years and do the same thing, but with all my experience I got recently. That's a very nice thing. So when we released the first game, the world was different, the industry was different, we were very
technology was different.
Technology was different, and we always felt like there is something unfinished with that game. It had very big potential. We loved it a lot. or our colleagues which worked on it. Some are with us today, some are not, unfortunately, but that's life. Uh, but we always felt. I'm sorry for speaking for everybody,
No,
but
no,
I
no.
believe they feel the same. Like there was so much potential which you couldn't do back then, and now we have that chance to. I probably it will be the same again.
Yeah.
It's philosophical thingy, but yeah, there is so many things that could be added to Knights of Honor and corrected also in it and make it a much much better game.
Yeah,
And,
awesome. So I saw some people asking if there's any big news added. So today, this is really going to be kind of a get to know you stream. You guys saw the dev diary. This is the meeting Veso, meeting one of the designers, Alex. We probably won't have any big news drops today. I mean, we're going to answer questions, but expect that we're going to be one of the big things that we're telling kind of committing to is that every 2 to 4 weeks or so, we're going to be doing another dev diary and another dev stream. We're going to do them very specific features and almost all of the big unveils about the game when it comes to features, showing first gameplay footage. There's going to be streams where we actually play the game live. We're going to be doing all of that on this channel here down the road. So welcome to our first one, and we're really glad that you're here as part of this early conversation and joining this community. And as we keep going, you'll learn more and more about the game and see more and more about cool features. One question I saw that we can certainly answer, and maybe this is news for some people, there was a question about if we're going to be adding in Asia or Africa, and maybe Vesa, you can give a quick answer to that.
well, it's a very good question. We'll be adding in some way, that's a mysterious way, those parts. Of course, on the game map, we'll see big chunks of Africa and important places like trans-Saharan trade routes and all that stuff. But I guess one of our next ideas is all about the world.
That's right.
So I'm not going into in a big detail about it, but we'll do everything we can to reinforce this fantasy. Like the world is big and there are exotic places and there is cool stuff going on there. And those kings who knows a bit more about the world, they maybe have some advantage and all that stuff.
Hey, Veso, you're setting me up. Like, I feel like I can just knock that one out of the park. Veso was 100% right. So this is a little bit of a preview. Our next dev diary, which is going to come out, we're hoping right after the new year or right before the new year. That's kind of our target right now. It's going to be about the world and the size of the world and the number of provinces and how we put the world together. So, and we're going to do an entire dev stream focused specifically on that world and what parts of the world we're going to be adventuring in with Knights of Honor 2. Some of the famous provinces that'll be included, some of the ways that we're building the visual representation, the art of all of that. So if you guys are really curious about how the world's going to be and the size of it, awesome. Like we're going to have that available for you on that next dev diary and dev stream. It's going to be focused almost exclusively on that topic. And I think if that's one of your big questions, you're going to really love that one. So make sure you don't miss it. So I'm going to ask you one more long question, one more short question. I think we can get Alex on here. So what do you think? And this is this is one of those impossible questions to answer. I know if I were asked this, so I apologize. But what do you think is one of the most exciting things about making a Knights of Honor 2, like feature-wise? What's one of the features you're just like really excited about revisiting when you talked about wanting to kind of go back in time with your current self's knowledge? What would that be?
That's a very hard question.
I know, right?
Brad,
I'm not giving you softballs.
I guess you have you thought about that question for you just hit the target.
Oh man!
I know, man.
Yeah, it's
you know the answer. It's too many. That's the problem. There are too many.
You got to pick one. You got to pick. I know it's not going to be your favorite because there's no favorite. It's like asking
Okay,
someone
I will tell you just very quickly one thing. What I personally really loved in the old game was the big number of surprising things that could happen and surprise you as a player. The things that emerge from seemingly simple mechanics, but certainly you end up with your king being in jail in Hungary, and then his son is called to a crusade, and then something happens. So all those I would now watch me mess. It was actually quite fun, and
the emergent gameplay moments,
and the situations that could somebody might not see for hours or for weeks, but when it happens, it says, "Wow, look what happens! That's impossible." So we are building that game for a lot more of these.
So I know this will give a little bit of maybe teases or previews, but you had told me this awesome story right before. I think it was not this last milestone, but the milestone before, and the
Mm.
diplomacy system where you had this. It's an obvious bug, and it's not going to be in the game, but it
Yeah.
was that weird thing where like your king got like in a weird situation where he was king of two kingdoms at the same time or something weird like that,
Yeah.
and it was based on. What was that story? Really quick.
Alex can tell you a bit more about it.
Oh, you want Alex to say it then? We can. You want
Yeah,
him
it
to-
was Alex.
Oh,
But
okay.
there was that thing like a king was captured a spy, then he killed him, and then he wrote letter to himself, blaming himself for
Oh,
his
that's right. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. He
So
blamed him for killing himself. Right.
right, it's a bug, obvious, but there are plenty of those.
Yeah, but there's some of the fun. We really should like do a we should do a dev diary, a dev stream where we actually go through like our top 5 favorite insane bugs that will never ever make the
Absolutely.
game. I'm gonna make a note for that. That'd be a really fun. Here are the ways that we've broken things completely, and you don't ever want to see this stuff.
Look, Brad, a few days ago we saw a floating fish, a flying fish, basically, a fish flying
flying-
above Spain.
Okay, why Spain? Just that's where they
I
had
don't know.
flying fish, right?
Yeah,
Well, I
just a
guess
fish flying in
technically,
the air.
aren't there technically flying fish? Like they don't have those fish that kind of like float over
It
the
was
water. or
flying
whatever?
quite high, flying above the clouds,
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
very slowly.
Sometimes the bugs that show up in development are just insane. So awesome. Well, Vesto, we're going to bring you back on a little bit later
Yeah.
in the stream to do a Q&A real quick to go through some of the forum questions and some of the questions on the stream. We've actually answered some of them as we've been going, but we're going to bring Vesto on, and all I'm going to do is ask your questions to him near the end of the stream, maybe the last 10 minutes. So get those ideas rolling and get them written down or ready for yourself. And when Vesto comes back on, we'll give him some questions. So if you don't mind, let's get Alex on the stream next, and we're gonna do a little bit of talking with him.
Alex, come in, man.
Excellent.
Hold
Well,
on.
while we're changing cameras, I saw one question highlighted to me. Ziddy, our community guy, wants to know how I always look so fancy, even under stress at Gamescom. I guess I don't know. I guess it's just I got a little bit of fancy. I actually was I need to get
It's
some
the long hair coming back.
the long. No. We're not bringing the long hair back. There was a time, and if you guys look too deep, you may find a couple of the videos where I had very long hair.
Hey,
We don't
hi,
talk about
guys.
that anymore. All right, Alex, welcome to the stream.
Yeah, hi guys.
It's great to have you on here and talking with everyone. So everyone, this is Alex. He is one of our senior game designers on the project. So really excited to have you on here. Alex, why don't you do like a quick 30-second intro in yourself? Like what are you doing on the project, and how long have you been in game development?
I started by writing game books actually.
Game books, really?
Yeah. These are more popular, like choose your own adventure game books
Okay.
style. And then I made some stuff in the mobile game industry. One strategy game, and then I moved on to one MMO, small scale MMO, but yeah, right. And now I'm here.
Excellent. And so you've been in the industry for how long? How long have you been making games? I guess starting from game book time, like how long is that time frame then?
Well, officially, I'm in the industry about 10 years now. But
10 years. Wow.
yeah, I'm making games maybe 25 years now, if I consider the hobby part of the game development.
I think hobby making is absolutely a fair.
Yeah, definitely.
There's so many things that you learn when you're just kind of trying things on your own and getting to know the ins and outs of making games and making mistakes and watching things not work and blow up in your face and all that kind of cool stuff. So wow, that's awesome. So you did hobby gaming back when you first started. Was it like board game stuff and pen and paper, or were you doing
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've made tons of pen and paper board games. One really huge RPG system, pen and paper. Probably spent about 10 years on it just as a hobby. But yeah.
Okay.
So I'm a fan of all kind of games, from card games to video games, mobile games, everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's when you talk about pen and paper and board games, I find that a lot of game designers, almost everyone that I've ever worked with has always been into some board games or paper play. I think it's a big part of kind of like experimenting with different systems and learning about them. So really, really cool.
True.
So what kind of games do you play? Like what are your favorites?
Well, right now I play mostly some kids games with my kids.
Okay.
Co-op games. Back in the days, I like to play in tournaments, so I was StarCraft 1 player
Oh,
a
okay.
lot. Yeah, but I enjoy also 3D actions and tactical games, all kinds of games actually.
Awesome. Very, very.
RPGs a lot. I'm a huge BioWare fan and so on.
Yeah, definitely. Very cool. So, you played Knights of Honor quite a bit, right? What are your we were asking Vesso one of these questions earlier. Like, do you have a favorite nation that you played with Knights of Honor 1?
Uh, well, I'm afraid it will sound a bit chauvinistic, but I mostly play with Bulgaria, and
Because you're Bulgarian, right?
yeah, kind of, but not not because of the nationalism part of it, but because I'm most familiar with the regional conflicts at that point.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, and I can immerse into the game more. Yeah, and also it's a balanced in size. It's not too small. Doesn't start small, but you have to develop everything from pretty much the beginning. So it's a very balanced gameplay for me.
I feel like that's something that a lot of players do in these types of games. They like to find like where their home is and play those nations or maybe one that they relate to from like a
Yeah,
history they liked or whatever. So I don't think that's a negative thing. I think it's a very common thing to kind of identify with the nation that you kind of
true,
know in
true.
that area. Was there any kind of like favorite strategies that you had when you were playing Bulgaria? Like were you super aggressive, or did you do like a lot of espionage, or were you more a diplomatic player? Like, what were your kind of like ways that you would approach it?
Initially, I prefer to focus on the economy parts. So
Mm,
this means merchants and of course tax collectors everywhere. But so the rebel risk is not so problematic. So in the beginning, I try to handle the economy, and then I mass marshals and go over Europe, basically. Of course, the espionage is helpful, of course, but in the beginning, I usually just have a protective spy in the courtyards.
okay, so like money, warfare, and then a spy to kind of give you some utility when you need it.
Yeah, yeah, basically.
Okay, really cool. So, you were actually the person that was, the author of this first dev diary. So, why don't we talk about that a little bit? Now, I
Yeah,
really
sure.
loved kind of the three pillars that you were talking about, and I'd like to kind of like
Thanks.
maybe talk about them in detail a little bit each. So, the first one was kind of immersive, that easy to learn and hard to master kind of pillar. So, what is that? Why do we talk about that? What does that entail when we talk about keeping that balance of being easy to learn but hard to master?
Well, first of all, this is a cliche everyone says, but
Sure.
we really try to achieve because it's very important that um, we don't want our game to be a frustrating experience for new players, so it must be
Right.
welcoming. And sometimes when we make a very deep feature, for example, we had very complex system for inflation and for trade and merchants and so on. But in these times, we just get back to the pillar and say, guys, this is too complex. How are we going to explain to the players? And maybe it will be very interesting for the most hardcore players, but we just back down a bit in these cases,
Yeah.
and we're trying to double check every feature we implement, whether it's interesting and challenging at the same time. It offers interesting decisions, but not too complex to explain to the players as well.
Yeah, I think it's something that I've heard said about Knights of Honor One, and it's something that I felt when I first played Knights of Honor One as a veteran gamer. When I first picked it up, that and started playing, I mean, obviously you need some like tutorial and some information about how some of the features work specifically. But
Sure.
I got into that game very easily
Yeah.
as a person who played a lot of strategy games, and there are other games out there in kind of that grand strategy space where even someone who's played, I would honestly probably say hundreds of strategy games in my life that I still find intimidating and I have a hard time approaching.
True. True.
And with Knights of Honor, I got right into it. And honestly, with Knights of Honor 2, even through development, for the most part, it's been a game that you can pick up very easily. And we've talked a
Exactly.
lot about like as we've been developing features, we've had a couple moments where like, oh man, this is getting a little bit too nuanced, a little bit too almost gamey, and it's just not adding a lot of fun. And it makes it a little too hard to approach. But I think, I mean, in my personal opinion, I may be biased, but someone was asking a question how deep the game is or how deep the features are. There's a lot of depth that opens up as you start learning about how the different emergent features connect to each other, like diplomacy connecting with espionage, or
Yeah,
how you
yeah,
use
it's true.
diplomacy to open up trade routes, or setting up certain alliance. There's a lot of things that open up as you learn more about how the systems intertwine.
Definitely, I think that's the interesting decisions and the depth of the game is the easier part actually in a grand strategy because you have huge opportunities, but it's more difficult to make it understandable.
Yeah.
That's more difficult.
So let's go into the next pillar. So the next pillar we had on the list was fun gameplay over historical accuracy. So obviously, Knights of Honor is a historically based fantasy. We have real names of countries. We're trying. Vesso was on earlier. You and I both can probably attest to this. Man, that guy knows so much about this time frame. It blows my mind. The common knowledge that is just to him on the surface, but to me it would be like I have to go to school to understand some of this stuff. Why is it important for us to put gameplay ahead of historical accuracy? Why is that important?
Uh, well, it always comes down to the decision in some features whether to choose one or the other. And you have some very cool stuff. For example, I will give one specific example if it's okay. It's
Okay.
more the next what the next dev stream will be about. But when we have to choose which are the starting provinces of a kingdom, and sometimes there are some very cool setups, and but they don't match in time. For example, it's very interesting in Britain, but in the same time it's not so much interesting in the Balkans. And
Right.
If you shift 5 years in one of the places, you have the perfect setup. So this is just a very little example, but yeah, we make these decisions everywhere in the game, and sometimes it's just visuals. For example, something looks very cool, and we want to keep it.
Yeah.
For example, for the ships, it's not exactly in the specified period. We can move, for example, half a century back or uh, or later, but we are okay with such decisions.
Awesome. What do you think? Do you have like something you could reference that is kind of historically accurate or really historically inspired that we are kind of keeping true?
Well, mostly everything, but
The province names for one,
definitely.
right? That will also be on the next one. We spent a lot of time going through the
Yeah,
names. Yeah.
yeah, we have a very precise starting setup with the rulers of the kingdoms and so on. But yeah, we have a historical consultant in the company, so
Right.
we want everything to be as more as inappropriate as it can be, from colors to names to dynasties, cultures, and so on.
Yeah.
So yeah, almost everything is historically accurate, where it doesn't intervene with the cool factor and the gameplay factor.
Right, and it's a good reminder. We actually do have a historical consultant or someone who's a historian on the team that's helping us
Yeah,
kind of with that information and helping bring that to life, which is a really, really cool investment to make sure that, though we're putting gameplay first, that history element is coming through and you can kind of take it. But, and Vesso has said this before, and I know this is a really cool aspect of the game. It's about living your version of history. It's like you're making your alternate version of history, not necessarily replaying history, which I think is really cool. You start in this kind of like this place setting. This is the way
yeah,
the world kind of was at that moment when you start. But once the game starts, it's your fantasy. It's
yeah,
your
yeah, definitely.
leadership. Yeah. So the
Yeah,
last one, I know we're running a little bit short on time before you go back to Vesta for the Q&A session. The last
okay.
pillar was single and multiplayer modes working well with every feature. So if you on the stream don't know, this game is going to be supporting multiplayer. We're going to be supporting it on the grand strategy level. So if you remember Knights of Honor 1, it just had the RTS battle kind of like quick match thing going on. But now we're opening up to actually have the full grand strategy game with AI and human players all working together or against each other, which is really cool. I know some people have a very common question we get is how many people are going to be supporting multiplayer. We haven't quite decided yet. We can tell you it's absolutely going to be more than 2, probably more in like the 4 to 6 range. We're still kind of experimenting with testing that and seeing how all that stuff works. Be aware that that's definitely it's going to be you're going to play with your friends. You're not going to just play by yourself or with just one other person, which is awesome. So why is it so important for like the features to work? Why is it an important pillar for us to have that single and multiplayer comment about each feature? Why do we have to think about it that way?
Yeah, because it feels different, and the game behaves different if you play against AI or player. And I will just give several examples without going too much into details. It's very easy to implement things like diplomacy and espionage, especially espionage against AI, because you do something and something happens in the kingdom, and the AI does not know that this is a spy action. But if you have a player against you, he'll immediately figure out that this is a spy action. So we need, in this case, special events for everything that can happen, so that the player does not know whether this is an action from the other player, or whether it is done by special event or something problematic in his kingdom.
Yeah, I know we were reviewing the I think diplomacy is a really good feature to mention this on, and we'll obviously have a dev stream specifically on diplomacy down the road. But
Yeah,
when we were
definitely.
talking about the diplomacy feature and thinking about single and multiplayer, it's really tricky because when it's AI powered, you have all these things like, oh, I have a diplomat in their nation, and the diplomat influences their willingness to accept a certain diplomatic gesture, like, oh, hey,
Definitely.
open a trade route or whatever. But man, if it's like me and you, and say like, you and I had a little bit of a fight the other night or whatever when we're playing, I could have like 5 diplomats in your area, and you could just reject all of my requests, even though I'm using all of
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
game feature set on you to try to make that diplomatic interaction more positive. So, figuring
That's
out how
true.
to make those kind of features work so it's still like if I have a diplomat in your nation and you're a human player, there's still an effect that makes those diplomats valuable, as opposed to just using the AI feature set and kind of assuming that it'll be fun. So I think that's a really good point, and how we balance that out. And it's a tricky thing. It's not an easy thing to balance those things.
True. It requires a lot of special handling. Every feature we check out from single and multiplayer point of view.
Yeah,
it's very important.
So I'm going to do 2 more questions before we have about 15-ish minutes left. We're going to go an extra 5 minutes because we started a little bit late. But I want to ask you 2 questions, so relatively short answers. So question 1, are you going to be writing more dev diaries for everybody?
Oh, for sure. We are planning to maintain the dev diaries throughout the whole development process from now on. So I think it's very important for the developers to stay in touch with the community, and we would like to hear the feedback of our fans. We are still open for some tweaks of the game, so the opinion of the players and the community matters to us.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know we've already kind of teased that our next dev diary, which will again be about the end of the year or our very first week of next year, which is going to be on the world. What is the size of the world? What is how are we building art of the world? All that kind of like world immersion stuff, which will be an awesome dev diary. And I promise you, there'll be a couple things visually on that stream that you haven't seen before, which will be cool to show. I had one quick comment from the stream that I want to answer. So people are asking if the artwork is in-game or just concept art. We're actually showing a little bit of both. So you see some of these images like the one on the screen right now. That's one of the early, not even early, but mid-concept arts for how the towns or the castles are going to look, the provinces. But there have been screenshots as well as I think some video in the background as well. So you'll be able to see a little bit of everything. Some in-game, some concept art. Some of these are already available on our website, knightsofhonor.com. You can go there and download some of the screenshots. I don't know if we have the concept art up there. I don't think we do, but maybe we can get a concept art package put together and upload those in the future. So I really like that idea. I'll actually take that note right now. I think Ziddy wrote it down, so we'll get maybe some concept art posted on one of the forums. And by the way, if you want to join our community, it's going to be community.knightsofhonor.com. That's where the dev diaries are posted. You can read them. You actually can see some cool concept art in our first dev diary. You can right click and save some of that concept art if you want to. And we're going to be posting a lot more content there. I know myself, Veso, Alex, all of us are on those forums. We're interacting with people. So if you want to join and start conversations about anything, your favorite games, questions about Knights of Honor, whatever you want. And honestly, and you'll see this in a minute, we do answer questions from the forums during the stream. So I'm going to be pulling up some of those forum questions here in a minute with Veso as we do our Q&A session. So one last question for you, Alex, before we move back on. And obviously short answers, you can't give away too much, but what are you working on right now? I know you guys have a big delivery coming up next week. What are you currently working on?
I cannot tell too much about it, but we are making some. Yeah, sorry.
Little bit of tease, maybe just a little bit. Maybe we can.
We're tweaking some stuff from the province features and resource management, which are linked to the buildings, and yeah, it's very complex. But yeah, we are doing some tweaks right now.
Yeah, the province updates are looking really exciting. I got a quick preview on our weekly meeting with Veso earlier this week. It's cool that you're working on that stuff. I think when we finally open the doors and show everyone some of that, I think they're gonna be excited. And that's something also I want to remind everyone. This game is not even an alpha yet. We're very much in development. It's one of the reasons why we're having to kind of pace what we show you, because things are changing. We have some features that were one direction that we're play testing, we're iterating on, and we're getting to a point where we're super happy about them, and then we're gonna open the door, so to speak, and show you what they look like. So be very excited about more information as these things start getting closer to alpha, and we're able to talk about them in more detail. It's an exciting time. We're really I know Alex and Vesto and the rest of the team can't wait to share the details and get into all the meat, which will be happening very soon.
Yeah, we were very excited too, and it's very nice when you see the game being more and more complete. So great times of the development, and I hope that very soon more and more people will see the great stuff we're doing right now.
Awesome. I don't know. I'm going to ask my video producer here behind the camera, the monitor. Vesto actually sent me, and I'm not going to promise we're going to be able to show it. If you want to, oh, never mind. Actually, Vesto said we can't show it. Never mind. There was something we were going to try to show. We'll get you. It's the flying birds. We'll get a clip of it. We just need to. There's some things on there that are development wise we can't show quite yet. But we're going to get the flying birds from around Spain. But I promise you, after
it's a fish. It's a fish.
Yeah, a fish. Sorry, flying birds.
If you're coming back next time, we'll show them.
But yeah, if you guys come back next time, we'll have that video clip ready to go on our next stream. We'll bring it up. We just need to. There's some development stuff on there that we can't quite show yet, but we'll get it cropped, and we will have flying fish on the next stream. You have my word. I'll make sure that video clip is ready for you. It'll be fun.
It was amazing the first time I saw it. I just checked the guy next to me and asked whether.
Why are the fish flying around Spain? No, Jorka, we will show the fish next stream. I promise you. All right. So, Alex, thank you so much for joining us. You've been an awesome guest. Really appreciate it.
Thank you too.
Everyone, you're going to get to see a lot more of Alex over the coming months and months. And can't wait to see the next Dev Diary. So awesome.
Yeah. See you soon, guys. Thank you.
All right. Cool. So we'll get Vesto back in here, and we are going to do our Q&A section. So I know we have a couple questions already lined up. I'm also going to go through the forums and grab some questions from there. We have about 10, 15 minutes to go through questions with Veso. So hopefully you got some of them warmed up, and we're going to have a great time together. So Veso, welcome back.
Hey, Brad.
How you doing?
Perfect.
My first question for you I'm going to ask is, who put up the Christmas tree? I love the festive spirit behind you. That's awesome.
Well, who put it? I think it was Julia.
Ah, okay.
Is it liquid cool?
This time of the year, so more lights. And by the way, all this blue stuff and everything is, we actually decided to make this stream from this improvised, I wouldn't say studio, sounds too serious, but from this big room. There are other rooms in the office, but we wanted to have it a bit more live, so you can see people doing their magic back there.
I love it.
And yeah.
So let's go through. We're going to do kind of a Q&A session. I'm going to start with a couple of questions from the forums. Let me see if I can go here. So Norbik actually asked a ton of questions on Tuesday on the forums. Let's see if I can grab one that would be fun to answer. So let's see here. So one question they had was, and I know we're going to talk about this a little bit in the future, but just as a tease, like what is kind of the max size of the royal court? What are we thinking about when it comes to the number of advisors and royal court members we're going to be able to put in there? I know that's still moving around a little bit, and it's not going to. About what are we thinking right now?
Well, right now there are 8 knights and the king himself, but this should not mislead people because this time all the characters, they have much more roles and much more depth in them. In the old game, the roll court was barely scratched as a function, as a feature.
Yeah.
Now they are much more, I wouldn't say sophisticated because this might scare some people, but there is tons of depth. They are real people with their real personalities and skills and everything, and it's like a mini RPG here going on. So, but we have to change just one number in one text file, which also is editable by modders.
Right. And that's a great segue. And I know that question comes up later on. The game is absolutely being designed from the ground up, from the very beginning of pre-production, with mod support in mind. We're going to give you guys all sorts of awesome control. You're going to be able to make mods, share mods. There's a lot of cool stuff you'll be able to do with that. So, but it's interesting. I think, I know the question I asked you is a little bit of a tough one in a way, because part of what we're doing right now as we're finishing up kind of the main production cycle and trying to get into alpha is trying to see how many of different types of things are fun, how many royal court members are fun, how big the province development should be. Those are all things that we're messing with actively right now. So it's difficult to kind of pin down answers for those questions because the answer is going to be based on what ends up being fun as we're tuning and setting up and kind of getting these features really realized.
Yeah, there is no any technical or systematic reason to have that exact number, but currently we're playing like this and we find it fun. We find it a little challenging because a lot of people say we want more, but having more means less choice, less care for every single person. And it's all about having your closest circle and your most loyal people around you, or you think they're loyal.
You think they're loyal. No say no more. All right, so next question I'm going to jump to on the forums. Ivory Knight, which by the way, he's been very excited on the forum, so I had to grab one of his questions. So I'm going to just read his questions. I think he spent enough time thinking about it, it's worth talking. So he said, one mechanic from Knights of Honor 1 that I think was well designed and seemed to be at the core of the game was the city population resource. In Knights of Honor 1, it was relatively simple.
There is movement within the French encampments. Our people grow uneasy.
People have bigger problems. Our coffers threaten to become bare. Talk of war and gold when it is our faith that matters.
Faith? How can the Pope expect troops for his crusade when our borders are in danger?
Subtle ways to deal with the French.
Intrigue is irrelevant if our borders are attacked.
Cloak and daggers.
Sit behind you.
It's still changing. So you probably are seeing some things from the screenshots and the videos that are still evolving. But Besto, can you give a little bit of a teaser, a little bit of an answer, maybe even like what we're thinking about when it comes to that question and how we're handling pops?
Yes, actually, that question was very, very straight to the point, and that's true. Population and people are actually one of the most precious resources you could get.
Actually, hold on one second, Besto. So I just heard that.
We got the audio back.
Okay, you have the audio back? Yeah, it seemed like when our first DevStream, guys, we won't make that mistake a second time. It seemed like when we played the actual video, we lost the audio. So I'm going to summarize Ivory Knight's question again really quick. So he basically was asking about population and how you use population as a resource and what the different populations could be. And then, Besto, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. I would prefer not to go very much in depth about types of population and that stuff. I would prefer to leave this for an entire Dev Diary article because there is a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But what is that guy is very correct. It's exactly this. the population is very important. You cannot wage war without people, basically.
By the
You
way,
have to manage that.
Ivory Knight, I want to sit there and say that you can now quote Vesso that he said you are very correct on the forum. So you have Vesso endorsing your thought process right there. Vesso
Yeah,
approved.
it's
that
a
meme,
good
Vesso
question.
approved. Yeah, it's a good question.
It's a good question. You cannot have a massive war or without having enough people, and we all know in history that some very prolonged wars and times of wars, they really depleted population of entire regions, not only because of slaughter during battles, but also because of hunger. And when the men are taken out with the army, then there is no one to take care about the farms and all the life. So it's
Yeah.
it's important aspect of the game, but more about this later.
Awesome. So let's see if we, I'm gonna pause our question for 2 seconds. We're gonna see if we can run the video again without the audio getting clobbered. So let's see. Want to try it really quick, producer? See if it works. You still have the audio. It sounds like we're good.
We have audio.
You guys can still hear me. It looks like all good. I'm looking at my associate producer. She's saying, "Oh, look at that. We got it fixed. See, hooray!" Thank you, by the way. This is our first dev stream, so we are working out some of the kinks. You guys get to be, this is our beta test. We're beta testing the dev stream. So we have bugs, we're fixing the bugs, and it's all good. Look at that. The video production team is rock solid. It just takes, look how fast they're fixing bugs. I wish, we could fix bugs in a game that fast. Oh, man.
Do you hear audio from the movie?
No, they fixed it. They got
I've made my
so we're good to
decision.
go.
You guys can talk over the movie.
So,
maybe we can
Fetch
ask the
my
bit, like,
yeah.
I took my decision. Fire, fetch my armor. Save the
Oh,
day, man.
Vesso! Oh my God! Please tell me we need to do a Vesso dub of the trailer. Oh, that'd be hilarious. Oh, you're making me cry. Oh, that was fantastic.
I also learned that in the very beginning of this dev stream, I did something which wasn't super appropriate. It's the first and only time in my life where I said stuff like that. Sorry about it.
Oh, that was funny. Okay, I need to get myself back together. All right, so we'll grab one more question from the forums, and then we're going to grab some questions from chat that we have recorded by our team. So Wally asked 14, how many? We asked 20 questions on the forum. So goodness gracious, Wally, we're going to have to pick one from all of this. So let me see. He asked, actually, well, a lot of people were asking about like DLC and expansion plans and whatnot, or support. We are going to be supporting this game. So 100%, there's going to be quality of life patches that are going to be free. We're going to have other things that we're going to do to kind of keep the game improving, both with your feedback as well as things that we want to do that we don't necessarily make the game when it goes live. So be where there's going to be support. With DLC, we haven't really made, we're not talking about that right now because we want to focus on the game. We're building a game right now, and that's what our focus is, and the team's focus is. DLC is something that we're going to work on a little bit later. Like I said, right now we're very much in production. I'm not going to, we're not going to say that we're not going to do DLC or that we are. But at the moment, we're just focused on making the very best version of Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign that we can. But we're absolutely going to be supporting this game. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff that we're going to do after the game goes live. So, it's not going to be something we just release and then go. Like Vesso mentioned before, this is a passion project for him, something that he's been very, me getting to know him the last couple of years, very, very excited about. So I actually think it'd be hard for him to stop wanting to add things into the game. So there'll be time for doing that. One question that he asked, I think, that would be kind of interesting to talk about. He said, will the river crossing battles or attack on camps of Knights of Honor 1 or something kind of similar to that be in the game? So are we going to have like that kind of battles on the water, battles in different areas that kind of affect different values, the kind of camps and how they impact, are those features, are there any versions of that? I know we're probably going to go into detail more when we talk about the battle system, but maybe you can give a little bit of a tease, a little bit of a preview for everybody.
Yeah, it definitely deserves its own dev stream. But for the river crossing in the old game, it didn't work very well. It was a very childish idea to represent all the crossing river thingy the way it was represented in the old game. So you won't see exactly the same thing. But on the other hand, crossing big rivers with big army, it's not an easy thing. It was not an easy thing. So it will definitely have its strong impact. And as a potential conqueror, you really have to think how you would like to move around the world and what you do with the big rivers and yeah, that type of things. And yeah, it's not for free. I mean, crossing a big river means definitely some madness and some
Madness.
disorganization in your army. It's not that tight
Yeah.
as it should be. So yeah, but more about this later. I am really tempted to say much more about it, but it's not the moment.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, I want to answer a couple of the questions from the stream before we wrap this thing up. 'Cause I know we had a couple that came by, so I think I'm going to be getting some of these from this my chat here. I have a little production team. So question one was, will the composer from the first game be back? And they love the music from the first game, so I'll take that one. We have a new set of composers on this project. They're awesome. I think you're going to really enjoy the music. They're big fans of Knights of Honor as a franchise, and it's been a cool process. We are going to be doing a really cool making of video that you'll get way down the road. It's a little early tease. So we're going to talk about how the music's being recorded and written, and you'll get a chance to meet the composers. But you know, I think you're going to really enjoy what we're putting together there. What's our next question we have from the stream? Let's see what we got here. Do we have a few ready to go?
Alex?
Yeah.
So there was one. It was, will the game include early ages like Romans, Greek version?
Okay, so there's one question that was saying, and who asked that question? Do we have the name of that person?
Don't have the name of that.
Okay, so there was a question about, like, is the game going to include any of the early ages like Greek and Roman times and whatnot?
No, it's a completely different world, the ancient world, and so sorry, no Greeks, no early Olympics, and no Archimedes.
Yeah.
Those people.
What was so? What is the time frame of the game then? What's to better establish that then? What time are we actually going to be playing?
Yeah, roughly 1000 AD to late 14th century. But as Alex mentioned, we took a little creative license here and there. The idea, Alex explained this, but the idea is for our players not to follow the history as it was, but to create it themselves. So we want to have a very fair start, or as fair as we can without breaking certain things. But then it's entirely up to you if you want to have the Knights Hospitaliers conquer the world. You can do it, or you can restore the Roman Empire. Brad, sorry, I couldn't resist. You could restore Roman Empire in our game. It's very difficult. It's very difficult, and probably it won't last long. But you can do it.
Yeah,
I won't tell you how. You
Right.
have to discover this yourself.
Right, and there are some, and I'm not going to talk. There are some really cool features that we're experimenting with right now that actually make that could make that very fun. I'm not going to say much more than that because we have to leave. But there's some cool stuff that the dev teams that's working on to make some of those historical moments and fantasies really come to life and be exciting. So we're excited about that.
We have one more.
And then, by the way, the person who asked that question was Alandil, I think. It's a lot of I's in your name, by the way. So if you're still around, that's a fun one to pronounce.
Elendil,
yeah.
Very, like elf.
Yeah, right. So we get one more question. What do you think? One more?
Yeah.
What we got?
I think so. Okay, so I think their name is Seskaku.
Okay, Sesaku.
And okay, so they were saying you talked in the dev blog of keeping in mind both single player and multiplayer as one of your pillars in design. So the question is, do you have a scope in terms of multiplayer, 2-player, 4-player, 8 players? Or are you still trying to figure it out in terms of performance?
Yeah, so the question is basically, you know, what are we thinking about when it comes to size of multiplayer and the number of people in the game and kind of that focus on kind of multiplayer experience. So I know we answered that a little bit earlier, but we can answer it again. So Veso, what are we thinking when it comes to multiplayer?
For now, the best thing to say is as important as single player. But yeah, but it's not esport game. Esports game also, or it's not a Twitch game. So our multiplayer is not going to be about clicking faster. It will be about being smarter.
So is it going to just be me and you playing, or can we play with Alex as well, or like how many people are we probably going to have? I know we haven't settled on a number yet, but
I would prefer not revealing this yet because that it might change. I can share eventually how many people we played recently, but it's better to keep this for because Brad and friends, I'm really sorry, but this will spark a lot of discussion. We have a lot of cool things connected to the multiplayer. We actually took quite a long time to think about what the multiplayer in Grand Strategy should be. It sounds like a ridiculously huge question, but we tried to really rethink the entire stuff.
Definitely.
I noticed that, I could be wrong, of course, but I noticed that a lot of multiplayer features in current grand strategies are more rooted into the old strategy games like 90s or something, but was something missing for us, so we tried to explore and find some different way to represent what actually is going on. A group of people role playing or living in their world, or maybe they would like to break the rules and play their own custom game. It's a very big topic, Brad, as well as I do. So let's leave this for the DevStream.
The only thing that I think we can definitely say is that it's going to be more than 2 people. So you're going to be playing with your friends. It's not going to just be you and Veso, whether that's 4 or 8 or 6 or 10. We don't really know the exact number of people we're going to have, but it's going to be a group of friends. And we're really trying to figure out what that really honestly about what the max number is. What's the maximum number of human players that will make the game still be fun to play and let the different features and systems we have in place work the best. But it's absolutely going to be more than 2. And probably in the 4 to 8 range. But like Veso said, where that ends up landing in the specifics, we'll end up talking about in more detail. And like Sesaku said, you really just want to hear more than 2, which is exactly correct. It's going to be more than 2. Yeah. You're going to be able to play with a group of people. I know. I'll say that I've already played multiplayer sessions personally with 3 or 4 people. So there's going to be a group of people you're going to play with, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Veso, thank you so much for joining this DevStream today. It's been a lot of fun, right? Not too bad for the first one. A couple hiccups here and there, but it's worked out pretty well.
No, absolutely. And thank you very much for hosting this, Brad, and Alex and everybody. It was a big honor for us. And thank you.
It's funny. So we have Alex, the senior game designer, and we also have Alex, the video producer, who's behind the scenes doing all the work and throwing me questions and everything. As well as Ali, who's helping. But we have a couple people on here that are also helping make this DevStream possible. So thank you to all of them on the group. Guys, we're going to be doing more of these DevStreams. This is only the first one. We're going to be doing tons of them. We're going to have them coming up usually every 2 to 4 weeks or so. So you're going to get to know me a lot better. You're going to get to know the team better. We're going to unveil new features. The next DevStream, which is going to be slated right now for right after the new year, is going to be about the size of the world. Giving you the preview here, we're going to talk about how the world is being put together, some of the visuals for it. We're going to show some exclusive screenshots and maybe some exclusive video about the world, which you haven't seen yet, which is going to be really cool. And we're also going to be able to talk about kind of the provinces in the area. I know there's a couple questions about Asia and Africa. You'll have some of that answered. So look for that dev diary coming out near the very end of this year and that dev stream coming up right after the new year. And we'll be talking with you then. Guys, it's been so much fun. Thank you for your patience. We've ironed out some of the kinks. Next time it's going to be even smoother. And before we go, we're going to do one quick show of our gameplay trailer. I think some of you have seen it, but some of you haven't. So you can see some of the visuals here as a tease. And then after that, we'll be wrapping up, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for joining the Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign stream. And remember, join the community at community.knightsofhonor.com. That's community.knightsofhonor.com. We'd love to have you on the forums. That's where the dev diaries are posted. We are on there answering questions, and we're so excited to get to know you and be working with this game with you together. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you, people. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our visual gameplay teaser trailer of Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign, the latest grand strategy game from THQ Nordic and Black Sea Games. Sovereign is a new take on the grand strategy genre, presenting the world as a living miniature in real time. Political intrigue, economic growth, religious developments, and of course, the maneuvering of armies, all unfolding in front of you in beautiful detail. Choose from a huge number of nations, with different strategic starting positions and unique challenges. Then, guide and shape your kingdom